Hi, welcome to Netmixpedia. This is a new video regarding nurses' migration to Australia. Frequently asked questions are answered in this video. So I have got many questions in my previous video in the comment section. So I tried to address all the questions through this video. So if you have not checked that video, please kindly check the AHPRA processing video, internationally qualified nurses, how they can migrate to Australia. The initial steps are mentioned in that video. So let's move on. So if you have not liked or subscribed my channel, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel for more information on AHPRA processing. So first of all, let's see what are the steps of nurses migration to Australia. So initially, we have to assess the ability to meet the registration requirements in Australia. So second step is assess your ability to meet the immigration requirements, that whether you meet the PR points or not. Third one is to do a complete self-check, and if you're in stream A, successfully complete orientation part 1 and get qualified for the uh, application for registered nurse. Or if you are in stream B, you have to successfully complete the orientation part 1 and you have to take the outcome based assessment OBA. So next you have to fill in application form and provide all documentation to AHPRA. Then NMBA will assess whether you meet the requirements for registration and you will get a registration from AHPRA. So then you apply to ANMAC for the assessment. So later you apply for immigration to Australia, or you find a job and apply for the job. Then obtain the employment and emigrate to Australia. So these are the 10 steps. So let's move on. There are many questions which may be in your mind while seeing these steps. So I will address majority of those questions now. First of all, what is AHPRA and what is ANMAC? What are these? So let's see what is AHPRA. So AHPRA is Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency, which overlooks the functions of NMBA, Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia. So NMBA comes under AHPRA. Next, AHPRA provides you the registration to work as a registered nurse in Australia. AHPRA assesses your education only. So it will assess your education based on the Australian qualification factor, whether you meet the Australian standard education or not. So then you will get a registration. You have to renew it every year. So there is 1 year validity for your registration certificate from AHPRA. So you have to renew it. So that is what AHPRA, it gives you the license to work as a registered nurse in Australia. Whereas ANMAC helps you in meeting the immigration requirements. So immigration requirement as listed by the Department of Home Affairs in Australia, you have to get certain immigration requirements, such as under the General Skilled Migration program, you have to meet the points. So ANMAC will assess your experience and let you know whether you meet the points or not. So your experience is calculated by ANMAC based on ANZSCO codes. So what are these ANZSCO code? I will speak about it later. So ANZSCO code will guide in which area you can practice, or in which area or to which category you can apply. So the PR points again will be affected by the ANMAC assessment. So ANMAC at the end of the assessment will provide you a letter of determination. So under the letter of determination, your experience will be listed, and based on that your PR points will be calculated. And then this ANMAC assessment has a validity of 2 years. So once you got a letter of determination, you can apply for next letter of determination after 2 years. Okay, so if you have ANMAC assessment older than 2 years, you have to reapply to get a new ANMAC letter of determination. So that is about AHPRA and ANMAC. So AHPRA provides you registration, ANMAC guides you through the immigration. Next, I have received many questions regarding the attestation of documents. So first one I got, can you explain how to attest or certify my documents? So I have made a clear video, so I'll explain based on the AHPRA guidelines. So AHPRA has written the certifying documents instructions for the applicants. So how applicants have to certify their documents. First of all, you have to take a copy of the original document, then take the original document and your copy to an authorized officer who can certify the document. Authorized officer will be the notary lawyer in your country. Okay, or if you're in Australia, you can go to the Justice of Peace. In other places, there should be you have to attest the documents through a public notary lawyer. Okay, then the step 3, you must ensure the authorized officer certifies your documents in line with the AHPRA requirements. Okay, so there are some AHPRA requirements. Based on that only you have to certify. You cannot just get the certificates attested based on the criteria in your country. So you have to follow the Australian criteria. So note, incorrectly certified documents will not be accepted and will cause delays. So this note is given by AHPRA. So you have to follow the criteria listed by the AHPRA. So what are those criteria? So the certifying documents instructions for authorized officer. So the instructions are, all documents, the certification statement must be on the front of the copy of the document. You must also write or stamp on the copy your signature, the notary lawyer's signature, his or her full name, occupation or profession, stamp or seal, phone number, and the date. Okay, so these are the guidelines for certifying documents, came out in September 2020. So let's move on. So the first guideline for the documents with a photo. So on documents with a photograph, write or stamp. So the stamp may not be available in all countries with all the lawyers, which states this particular statement. So the lawyer can write it down. I certify that this is a true copy of the original and the photograph is a true likeness of the person presenting the document as cited by me. Okay, so this statement should be there in the attested copy. So let's see a sample. So the attested copy will have a stamp like this, a notary. So the notary's name will be there and his details will be there, and when the expiry date of this particular notary's license will be mentioned. Second one, this particular notary has written that statement, original is verified and certified to be the true copy. The photograph is a true likeness of the person presenting the document as cited by me, and there is a date and name and the stamp and the phone number is written. So this is an ideal uh, attested document which is accepted by the AHPRA. Okay, so this is a stamp which must be seen in the documents with a photo. So next we'll see the documents which doesn't have a photo or without a photo. So here the documents which without a photo, the lawyer has to mention, I have cited the original document and certify this to be a true copy of the original. Okay, so on a single page document, either he can write or stamp. On documents with more than one page, for example, your transcript or some other documents will have more than one page. So the lawyer has to write the initial on every page and write or stamp the following in the last page. Okay, on the last page, the lawyer has to write, I have cited the original document and certify this to be a true copy of the original. So this is a sample. So in the first page, you will see the stamp like this, original is verified and true copy. Okay, and the stamp of the lawyer. And in the final page, again you can see the same, like I have cited the origin document and certify this to be a true copy. So this stamp should be there on the final page, and the name of the lawyer and his phone number and date when it was attested, everything should be mentioned. So this will be accepted by the AHPRA. Next one, there are some people say that my document is rejected. So this is an example of document is getting rejected. So here the it says that I have cited the original document and certify this to be a true copy of the original. So this is a document with a photo, okay, driver's license, and there is no wording saying that true likeness of the person presenting the document as cited by me. Okay, so in this document, since it is not written true likeness of the person presenting the document as cited by me, it gets rejected. So incorrect wording, refer to the document. Okay, so the it refers only to the document, not to the person who brings the document. Okay, so this will be rejected. Next, in some places, the lawyers will usually attest. It is accepted in India, but in for AHPRA, it is rejected. Okay, so even though they write valid outside India, all these things, it will get rejected. So you have to make sure that you follow the guidelines as I mentioned before. Then some notary lawyers may insist you to put on the stamps, the 100 rupee stamp or other stamps. So this is required only in India. For outside, like for Australian, it is not necessary. So it is an unnecessary. So need not you put these stamps on your certificates. Next one is regarding the good standing certificate. So who needs it, AHPRA or ANMAC? So I can say that good standing certificate is required for both AHPRA and ANMAC. So you have to send one good standing to AHPRA and one to ANMAC. Then how to send it? So good standing certificates must be sent from the nursing board directly to these agencies, either AHPRA or ANMAC, and it should not be posted by you. It should be posted by the nursing board where you worked when it is needed. So AHPRA needs a good standing certificate after you complete the OSCE. You apply for the final registration. In that stage, you have to provide one good standing to the AHPRA, and you have to provide one good standing to the ANMAC before you apply for the ANMAC assessment. So it is ideal before you apply for the ANMAC assessment, you send a good standing certificate from all the boards to the ANMAC. So AHPRA takes a good standing certificate which is up to 3 months old, whereas ANMAC considers up to 1 year. So from which nursing board or boards I have to send these documents? So good standing certificates must be sent from all the nursing boards under which you are registered. Okay, once upon a time means around 10 years back or 15 years back you worked in particular jurisdiction and you had a registration. You have to send the good standing certificate to AHPRA from those boards. Is there any specific validity? So validity for a good standing certificate is 3 months for AHPRA, whereas for ANMAC it considers up to 12 months. So what to do if my nursing board do not provide good standing certificate due to some reasons? So there are some countries or some places the good standing certificates will not be provided. Either maybe you do not hold a renewal or you are not uh, getting a good standing from the hospital where you are working. Okay, due to some what reasons you may face these kind of problems. So in such cases you can apply for certificate of registration status. Okay, we have two options for good standing, that is certificate of good standing and certificate of registration status. So you can apply for certificate of registration status and you can request your case officer to consider it, giving the reasons. What is the difference between COGS and CORS? So certificate of good standing states that you have no offense on your name under the particular nursing board, whereas certificate of registration status says that you are registered as a nurse under that particular board. So that is a difference. So all nursing board will provide you certificate of registration status since you are registered under that particular board, whereas certificate of good standing may not be given if you have committed any offense or any unethical things under the nursing board. You may not get the certificate of good standing, or maybe due to some other circumstances you may not get the certificate of good standing. So what happens if my good standing certificates gets rejected? So if AHPRA rejects your good standing certificate due to any of the reason, so you will be given a 30 days time to resubmit your document. So you have to hurry up with your nursing board and you have to resubmit the documents required by the AHPRA or ANMAC. The next questions regarding referral letters. So regarding referral letters, where should I send referral letters? So referral letters must be sent to ANMAC, not to AHPRA. So the referral letters you have to upload in the portal in the ANMAC website while you apply for the ANMAC assessment. Who has to sign the referral letter? So referral letter has to be signed by a nurse manager or your immediate manager in the nursing department, not by a doctor or any other like a PRO or any other person. So it should be a direct supervisor for you. The person who signed on your referral letter should be a direct supervisor to you, either a team leader or group leader, okay, with a stamp has to sign. What if I don't have a referral letter from my previous employer or employers? So the ANMAC will assess your experience up to like 10 years. In the past 10 years, how many years of experience you have, the continuous experience or with the gap will be assessed. So you have to get the referral letter from all your previous employers and it should be based on the ANMAC criteria. So if you do not have one, you have to contact your previous employer and get it uh, for yourself. So what happens if my referral letter gets rejected? So in certain cases, if you do not follow the guidelines given by the ANMAC, your referral letter may get rejected. So they will give you a timeline to upload your documents or submit with the statement of service letter to ANMAC. So within that time frame, you have to submit these documents. Again, you can request for another referral letter from your employer and you have to upload it. Is there any guidelines to an ideal referral letter? So there is a guidelines given by the ANMAC. So let's see what are those guidelines. So ANMAC has given a example of a professional reference letter. So in this letter, they have mentioned what are the things they accept. First of all, the reference to be provided on official letterhead and must include contact details, address of the hospital, telephone, and email and website. So if these things are available, it should be there on their letterhead. Then they have to mention the date written and it has to be addressed to ANMAC. So ANMAC's this address has to be written on the document. Next, in the middle, there should be the applicant's full name and there should be an overview, the brief overview. It must state that the applicant is employed as a nurse or midwife in this particular hospital. Okay, then commencement date or dates of employment and full-time or part-time capacity. So it should mention the Mr. or Mrs. so and so has worked as a full-time registered nurse in our hospital from this date till this date as a full-time registered nurse and work for like 48 hours in a week or uh, something like 36 hours in a week, whatever it is, it should be mentioned clearly. Next, in the body of the referral letter, there should be details of the ward or setting, not simply worked in the ward 1 in the general hospital or medical ward. Okay, it should be a detail like he or she has worked in the medical ward or medical and surgical ward with the make a reference to the ANZSCO code. In bracket, there should be the ANZSCO code. Okay, under which ANZSCO code this particular ward comes. So what are those ANZSCO codes? I'll speak about it later. And must provide details of the nursing work undertaken in this setting. So it should be a detailed explanation of your work. So you worked as a registered nurse and you have taken care of so much mechanical equipments, or you are experienced in particular skills. It should be clearly mentioned. Then examples of competence in carrying out nursing work, like you are experienced in ECMO or taking care of ventilated patients or any other skill, it should be mentioned. And brief comment on continuing professional development, whether you have taken part in any of the CPDs, it should be mentioned, or CNEs you have taken part, that is whether you're actively taken part or you're going for it, it should be mentioned. Then should be at least 2 paragraphs of detailed information. This detailed information should be at least 2 paragraphs. It should not be very lengthy, but still it should contain 2 paragraphs. So one about listing down your expertise, and second one listing down your professional development, whatever you have done, it should be mentioned. So based on this, your referral letter will be assessed by the ANMAC. Okay, and this will help you help the ANMAC to guide you under a particular category of registered nurse. Okay, and then there should be name, signature, and position of the referee. Okay, the name, signature, and position of the referee must be written, and the designation must be a nurse or midwife supervisor. So the person who gives you a referee reference letter should be a nurse, midwife, or a supervisor. And ANMAC also has written that they cannot accept employment that is less than 3 months full-time equivalent. So if you have worked for less than 3 months in a particular hospital, you cannot submit those referral letters, and you cannot submit the pay slips or generalized job descriptions and performance review documents as a referral reference letter. Okay, and if you're claiming for extra points for your visa, they cannot accept less than 1 year work experience in Australia. In Australia, you want to claim, it should be more than 1 year. For international nurses, it should be more than 3 years cumulative work experience. Those experience only you can apply for the ANMAC. So you have to note it, more than 3 years cumulative experience. Okay, but a single experience should be more than 3 months. Then references that relate to work experience over 10 years ago are not accepted. As I said before, in the past 10 years, wherever you worked, you have to get the reference letter from those areas only, not the not from the places where you worked before 10 years. So in the last 10 years, wherever you worked, you have to get the referral letter from those workplaces. Next, the question was, what is ANZSCO codes? Okay, what is it? So ANZSCO codes are Australian and New Zealand standard classification of occupations, are codes used by the Department of Home Affairs in the skilled visa program, where it is a requirement for visa eligibility. So each registered nurse who worked in like a ICU or uh, OPD or medical ward, surgical ward, or perioperative nursing, any different areas. So these nurses are classified as a different under different code in the ANZSCO code list. So the ANZSCO code list uh, specifies each nurse under different category. So there is a nursing clinical director, midwife, nurse educator, nurse researcher, nurse manager, nurse practitioner. Then registered nurse in aged care, child and family health, community health, critical care and emergency. So those who are working casualty and ICU come under this category. Then developmental or disability, so pediatric rehabilitation centers and disability and rehabilitation centers. Then medical ward, medical practice, mental health, psychiatry. Then perioperative, surgical, pediatrics, and then there is something called as not elsewhere classified. So those who work as a work in the OPD or uh, those who work as a nurse, nursing tutors, uh, they will be, or clinical what uh, clinical teacher or nursing clinical instructor. These categories are not listed, so they have to apply under not elsewhere classified. Then there is something called as enrolled nurse. So enrolled nurse is for GNM nurses. So BSc and above, they have to apply under registered nurse. Then nursing educator category 254211 is for the nurses, those who have completed MSc nursing and worked as a lecturer. Then if you are a newly qualified nurse or midwife with no professional experience, you should apply using one of these codes. So if you are a new grad, you have to apply under which category you come. Okay, so if you are a BSc nurse, you have to apply under registered nurse, not elsewhere classified. If you are an enrolled nurse, you have to mention enrolled nurse. Then if you believe your experience is not represented by one of the codes listed here, so you have to apply under not elsewhere classified. So under this code you have to apply. So ANMAC will assess whether your referral letter, in the body of the referral letter, the experience what the referral letter is mentioned, whether it meets these particular ANZSCO code or not. And after that, you will be assigned to that particular code. And in the referral letter, you have to mention, like if you worked in a medical ward, you have to mention the code, ANZSCO code 254418 in the first paragraph itself. Okay. Mr. So and so worked in this hospital in this department, medical department. In the bracket, you have to mention the ANZSCO codes. Okay. So next, duration of AHPRA and ANMAC registration. What is the time duration? How long does AHPRA take to qualify you as a registered nurse? So well, if I can say, it depends on how fast you finish your paperwork, as well as the time you take to complete the NCLEX or the MCQ test, as well as the OSCE. So usually it may take up to 1 year to become a RN if everything goes well. Okay, so each step takes time. How long does ANMAC assessment takes place? ANMAC assessment, once you apply, within 30 days you will get an ANMAC assessment if all the papers whichever you have sent reaches uh, at proper time. So within 30 days you will get an ANMAC assessment. So within 30 days means after 25 days only your applications will be considered. Okay. Time frame to complete the registration in AHPRA is I can say 9 to 12 months, whereas for ANMAC it is 25 to 35 days. Then the time frame to complete the registration in AHPRA, the orientation part after your self check you have 90 days. Like after your self check, if you pay the initial payment, you have 90 days to complete the orientation part 1. Then once you reach the portfolio, after completing the orientation part 1, you will reach the portfolio stage. So within 90 days you have to upload your documents to complete the portfolio stage. Okay. Then referral to MCQ test. This is given by the AHPRA, which guides you go and write your MCQ test. And usually the people call it as a decision letter from AHPRA. So this letter is valid for 1 year, 365 days. Within those days, you have to take the MCQ test. For NCLEX, you will get a letter authorization to take test from the Pearson VUE where you apply for the NCLEX test. So that particular paper, the ATT, is valid for 90 days only. Then for OSCE, the time duration we do not know. Once you complete the NCLEX, the AHPRA will come to know that you have cleared the NCLEX or the MCQ, and they will guide you for the OSCE. So AHPRA will suggest the dates for OSCE, and you have to go to the center and take the OSCE. So final registration again after you complete the OSCE, if you apply by post or whatever method they suggest, till now it is not clear. We don't know whether it is online again or it will be by post, similar to the previous method. So if you provide all the documents within 2 months, you will get a registration, final registration. Regarding OBA, what is OBA? OBA is outcome-based assessment method. It is a new method initiated for Stream B candidates by AHPRA. So Stream A, they do not need to undergo OBA, whereas the Stream B have to undergo OBA. So how many attempts of MCQ test is allowed or NCLEX RN? So NCLEX RN with one ATT, you have 90 days validity of ATT, authorization to take test, and you can attempt only once with that one particular paper. So if you fail in that particular test, you have to reapply for a next ATT. You have to ask your board, the nursing board, the AHPRA, to issue another permission for you to take the test. Where should I take MCQ? MCQ you can take in your home country or in any country where you reside. Okay, the test centers are there in majority of the countries. You can take the test from those centers. Then where should I take OSCE? OSCE you have to take in Australia at Health Simulation Lab in Adelaide. So you have to travel to Australia in order to uh, appear for the OSCE test. Does this OSCE started? So till now the OSCE has not been started, and we are waiting for the date for the commencement of OSCE. Does AHPRA offer preparatory courses for OSCE? No. AHPRA does not provide any preparatory course for the OSCE, but there are some colleges and agencies they provide the preparatory course for the OSCE. So AHPRA do not provide it, NMBA do not provide it, and even the Health Simulation Lab in Adelaide do not offer any kind of preparatory course. You have to directly go and appear for the test. What are the topics I have to learn for OSCE? So AHPRA till now have not said what are the topics you have to get prepared in order to appear for the OSCE, but being a nurse, you have to be skillful in all the skills which you learned as a basic nursing skill. You have to be skillful, mainly the medication, then the wound dressing, and other procedures. Okay, so that will help you in passing the OSCE. Do I need special training for MCQ and OSCE? So this is a personal question. Do I need special training for MCQ and OSCE? That you only can tell. Okay, because each person has a different expertise and knowledge. So if you feel that you are not able to complete the MCQ without a preparation or training, you have to take a training. Even you feel that your nursing procedures may not meet the Australian standards, you better take a training before you attempt the OSCE. Can you please provide some good study references for preparation of NFLEX RN and OSCE? So for NFLEX RN, I can say there are some sites like UWorld, Kaplan, then Saunders book, Mosby's book, okay, and Mark Klimak's audio. So these are the standard references for NCLEX RN. And for OSCE, there are different colleges in Australia which provide the training for OSCE. So I will make a video based on my research on different colleges which provide OSCE and what are those expenses in the coming days. And for more details on these OSCE and NCLEX, please subscribe to my channel and I will give further information in the upcoming days. Next one is regarding the experience certificates. So in which stage I have to submit my experience certificate, in portfolio or registration time? So this question majority of people asked when I have to submit my experience certificate. So your experience certificate you have to submit at registration time for AHPRA. Okay, AHPRA requires only after the OSCE the experience certificates, not before the OSCE stage. My experience certificate is not in English. What should I do? So in some places the nurses get experience certificate in either Arabic or in their local language. So in that case you have to translate it based on the criteria mentioned in the uh, AHPRA website. So you have to take to a registered translator, and on their letterhead your experience letter must be translated. Later you have to attest your experience certificate from a public notary and attach it along with the translated copy. Okay, the original letterhead of the translator should be mentioned, and in the translated copy the letterhead should contain the name of the translating agency and their phone number. All the details should be written. Experience certificate, any guidelines for it. So I can say, if you are submitting a experience certificate, make sure that your experience certificate states the same guidelines which is given by the ANMAC. So mainly it should state your name clearly, your full name, then the date when the experience certificate issued, and it should mention whether you worked as a full-time or a part-time nurse, and it should mention how many hours in a week you worked in those in that particular hospital or ward. Then experience calculation. Who calculates my experience? Your experience is calculated by ANMAC in order to provide you the uh, points for PR, as well as your experience is calculated when you apply for a job by your employer in order to determine your salary. What is LOD? Letter of determination. Letter of determination is given by the ANMAC, and this letter uh, will calculate your experience. Okay. So the how does my experience is calculated? So you may have completed your nursing course and you started working immediately in a hospital, but after you completed your nursing course, it may take around 3 to 6 months in order to get registered, in order to get your result. Okay, so that period before your registration is not calculated by the ANMAC. Your experience is calculated after the date of registration in a particular nursing board. Okay, even though you worked from, for example, January 2020 till the October 2020, but you got registered in March 2020. So your experience will be calculated from March 2020 till October 2020. Okay, the experience which you had from January to March will be deleted, will not be considered. Okay, so it is applicable for all the jurisdiction under which you work. For example, if you work in India, after registration you work for 2 years, then you come go to a different country, and before registration you started working, but you got registration maybe after writing your DHA exam or MOH exam. It may take around 3 to 5 months, and but you worked from the day you entered that particular country. Those 5 months before registration will not be calculated. Okay, and since you're registered in your home country, that registration will not count your experience in another country. Okay, your experience in another country will be counted if you are registered in that particular nursing board in that particular country. Okay, does my experience determines where I can work in Australia? So for a we can say it will determine in which ward you will get the employment. Okay, but still there are chances you can work in other areas if you have the expertise, or you can work in aged care. Okay, it doesn't matter. But if you're a mental health nurse or a critical care nurse, there are higher chances that your experience will determine where you work in Australia. Does my experience affect my salary? So your experience, if it is less than 1 year, or if it is between 1 to 4 year or 4 to 9 years, okay, these will be calculated, and based on this, your salary will be hourly salary will be counted, and definitely it will affect your salary. Your experience will affect your salary. And next question is regarding the minimum experience. What if I don't have experience? Do I still get registration? So for AHPRA, they do not calculate your experience, even though they ask for your experience certificate at the final stage. They will not calculate your experience while giving you the registration. So even if you're a newly graduate nurse, or if you have not worked after your basic nursing course, you can apply. You will get the registration. Is work experience mandatory for getting PR in Australia? It is not mandatory. If you meet the required PR points through any of the other criteria, you can get the PR. Okay, but if you have a good experience, you will get special points for your experience, and it will increase your chances to get PR. Next, gaps in experience. So some people say that what should I do if there is a gap in my experience? Am I eligible to apply for AHPRA registration? So if there is gap in your experience, please mention it clearly while you apply for the AHPRA. So whatever the gap you have to mention it. Next, does ANMAC assess my gaps in the experience? So ANMAC will assess the gaps in experience. Okay, even there you can mention what are the gaps you have in your experience. So that will be considered. And regarding the PR points, what is the minimum score required for nurses? So generally it is more than 65 points you can apply for the PR. So even though you have less than 65 points, you can apply. If there is a requirement, you will be invited. How to calculate PR points? So this is a broad question. So already this particular video may be taking a longer duration. So I will make a separate video on explaining how to calculate PR points. So if you want to know it now itself, you can Google it and you can learn more about PR points. How to improve my PR points? So how to improve my PR points? One is to have an experience. Second one, you should have a good English score, English language score. And if you're eligible to write the exams like NATI, if you give that examination, there are higher chances of improving your PR points. What if I do not meet the PR points? If you do not meet the PR points, there are some alternatives. Either you can take up any educational program in the Australia in order to so that you will get more PR points, and you can apply for the work visa and get a job in Australia. And after working for 1 or 3 years, you can apply for the PR. And what are the my visa options to get PR in Australia? So there are different visa categories. One is a skilled independent visa, subclass 189. So currently the people may not be get invited for these visas, skilled nominated visa and skilled independent visa, easily. And there is a skilled regional visa. So it was previously given for 89, and now the recently Australian government has introduced skilled region work regional visa, subclass 491. Majority of people will be invited for this category. So after staying in Australia for 3 years, this is a temporary PR visa, skilled 491. So after you are staying there for 3 years, you can apply for visa number 191, that is a permanent residency visa in Australia. And there is something called as a skilled employer sponsored regional visa 494. So the employer will nominate you and will sponsor you to come to their particular hospital in the regional areas in Australia. So if you do not get these visas, you can apply for the work visa, or you can find a job and get the work visa. And what are the expenses? So the mainly expenses for self-check, it is free. So do not go to any agency and just pay whatever money they ask only for doing a self-check. It is free of cost. Then AHPRA online registration, in the first stage it will cost you 640 Australian dollar, and in the final stage again it may cost you the same amount. So 640 into 2, Okay, then NCLEX RN, for each attempt you will be taken 200 US dollar for test, and 150 international booking fees, and around $20 will be the tax. So it will be around $370, and MCQ it will be 165 New Zealand dollars, and some booking fees. Then OSCE it is 4,000 Australian dollar, and visit visa 600 initially. If you want, when you want to travel to Australia, you have to apply for this visa. It will cost you around $365, and you have to take care of your expenses like flight charge, room stay, everything. Then PR for the main applicant, it costs you 4,045 Australian dollar. For the spouse, of $2,025, and per child, each child you have to pay 1,010 Australian dollar. Then English test, if you take IELTS, it will cost you one particular amount. If you take some other test like OET or PT or TOEFL, it will cost you some other amount. So it depends on the test. Next, regarding the English language tests, which all English language tests are accepted. So for AHPRA and PR, you have to find a safest English language test. Okay, so the one English language test which will get you through from both AHPRA and Department of Home Affairs. So that will be IELTS academic, then OET for nurses, or PTE academic, or TOEFL IBT. So we have four tests, and the score will be different. Different criteria are followed for the scoring in these methods. Uh, so you have to take whichever is convenient for you. You have to take that particular English language test. Without an OET or IELTS, can we start the processing? Yes, of course you can start the processing, because self-check and the initial online programs and the up to OSCE stage, the AFRA do not require you to provide your English language test results. So you can start your processing. When should I submit my PT or IELTS results? So you have to submit your results after the OSCE stage. So before that, it is not necessary. Can I take computer-based OET from home? So there is a recent change. The OET exam and TOEFL exam and some IELTS forms can be taken from home. But this particular test is not accepted by the Department of Home Affairs. So this is a note which you can find in the Department of Home Affairs website. Some testing centers have tests that you can take at home, such as TOEFL IBT Special Edition Home, OET at home, and IELTS Indicator. So we do not currently accept these tests. It is clearly mentioned in the Department of Home Affairs. So if you are planning to take these tests in the current COVID-19 situation, please do not take it, because it will not give you sufficient validity. You have to retake the test. So better to take the English language test in a test center itself. Then the validity. How long my English language tests are valid for AHPRA? So for AHPRA, it is valid for 2 years. What to do if it expires before registration? So before you apply for the AHPRA registration, your English language tests are invalid or expired, you have to retake the test, and your English language tests results should be valid when you apply for the AHPRA registration. How long my language tests results are valid for PR visa? Once you get the ANMAC assessment and AHPRA registration, the if you apply for the PR visa, the validity is valid, like is will be extended for 1 more year. So after your English language test, within 3 years, you can apply for the PR visa. So any more questions, you can please write down in the comment section, and I will try to address those. And If you have not liked and subscribed my channel, please like and subscribe and support me in making more videos for you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.